What's up, Junkies? Welcome back in for another edition of Pigskin Junkies. Diving into the NFL previews now. I got myself, Michael Larson, the big brother, Jared Larson, and once again joining us for all of the NFL knowledge, the Scott Panza. Scott, welcome back, man.
Juiced. I was just watching Sunday Night Baseball, and I was thinking this is the last Sunday that I'll have to spend watching baseball instead of football, and it made me pretty excited. Got a little appetizer on Thursday night with the Hall of Fame game to watch Matt Schaub just light it up, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
So you're one of the people that actually watches Sunday Night Baseball. I used to always wonder who would watch that, but it sounds like
there's not much on television right now to cap the weekend, so I was watching some Yankees Sox, and it was wildly uninteresting. And then, just now I get to talk to you fine folks, so I don't have to be watching Yankees Red Sox. And
that's why they call it the dog days of summer. Yeah, we are definitely in the worst part of the sports calendar. These next 2.5 weeks are brutal.
Well, ESPN The Ocho is on Wednesday, right? Where they do all the extreme sports like axe throwing and frisbee, dodgeball, all that stuff. So they're struggling for airtime.
It's the summer's tough for them. They don't have much to put out there, so it's all coming to an end soon. So now we're ready to rock and roll, and we got some good weeks ahead.
We do. It is that time. You can smell the pigskin, and we're ready to rock and roll. So we're doing previews now of Jared and I obviously doing the Power Five, and then in the NFL we're going to break down each division and their partner, AFC, NFC, in one podcast. So today we're hitting AFC and NFC South. Am I correct with that, Scott?
We're hitting the AFC and NFC South, just the two most boring divisions that I thought we could start with.
We're saving
the juicy stuff for later. Yeah. Exactly. And
I can just promise you the East will be last. Based on everything that I know about Scott Payne.
Yeah. We will cap it with the East because, Eli Manning and the Giants are just having a great summer, and they're just primed to make a run. And I'm really excited to see them get going. But before we get to all of that, we'd like to share a contest with our listeners. So I've become a huge best ball fan in the past 2 years. So we are offering up a challenge between myself and Jared and 10 Junkies followers who download the draft.com app, deposit using our promo code Pigskin Junkies, send us a screenshot on Twitter. First 10 people to do so will compete in a contest against us. Winner will take home $100 from us and bragging rights throughout the season, as we'll be recapping the best ball standings throughout the season as we go through it and chronicle the Super Contest and a couple other contests this year, actually.
Yeah, a couple other ones. And I actually, Scott texted me, he's like, you got to try this thing out. And I did one for golf. Must have been for the British Open. And I was like, man, this is awesome. It takes 3 minutes. You don't have to worry about starting, sitting, whatever, which is going to be extremely pertinent come football season. So, get in there. It's free. All you got to do is follow us and show us that you made a deposit with our code and get the chance to win $100. Sounds pretty good to me.
Let me tell you, I'm deep in – because the summer is really boring, I'm deep in best ball drafts right now. I've already done 20 of these things. I've done the $25 tournament. I've done a few of the cash games. And I just find Peter Jennings in all these cash games, and he straight pwned me this weekend in a 4-teamer. And
what,
he just
baseball?
No, this is for football. This is for season-long football.
So how do you know he pwned you?
Just a soul read based on how the draft went, and he just kept scooping guys I wanted continuously through the draft, and I was really upset at the end of it, and he had a really good strategy. But, I mean, it's all luck by the end of the season almost. As long as you avoid the injury bug, you should be good. But in my head, he's already beaten me, but hopefully I can prevail throughout the season for some of the heavy leans I have this year. And there's quite a few.
At the player level. So that's probably, I don't know, a good spot to transition to betting on preseason. We had the Hall of Fame game on Thursday of last week. Scott, do you play the preseason? Is that something you're actively doing or have in the past?
I have in the past, but it's been a few years. And it's nice to wet your beak and get in on some of the preseason action, but I just don't think there's a ton of value in betting it. You really just don't know what these coaches are thinking, who they're running out there. It's just too frustrating. And there was a lot of chit chat around this game. I guess sharps were on the Falcons, and then Trey Wingo had the really hot tweet. If you're betting preseason football, you have a problem. I just don't think there's a ton of value, but
I
don't judge me.
I saw his tweet and I disagreed with it pretty staunchly. Just because I think the information is out there, but it takes a lot of work to unearth. I think it's beatable. We are not in a situation where you can get those minute by minute moves of who's playing, how long they're going to play, what the head coach says when he says it. It's the equivalent of trying to buy stocks 2 hours after they release earnings. It's just not going to happen, and it's very difficult to do. So, if that's something that you're tuned into, I think it is beatable. That's not our audience, and as a consequence, we're not super focused on it. But as Scott said, I will definitely be dipping my toes in the water a couple of times this preseason, just because even preseason football is better than regular season baseball. So we'll get in there, check the temperature of the water, and progress forward.
I'll definitely be watching. If there's some rookie quarterback or some backup that needs to scorch the earth to make a team, and maybe I'll bet them in week 4. But the week 1 matchups, I can't name you any of these guys that are playing. And it seemed like the Falcons had 15 guys catching passes. So it's, shame on me for not knowing half of these guys, or not even a quarter of these guys.
60% of them won't be on the roster
next week. This is just their game tape for the XFL next year. That's what it is.
Scotty's all in on the XFL.
Ooh.
I will be tuning into Hard Knocks, though, especially the stuff that Gruden was saying about Nathan Peterman. I'm like, this is going to be so great.
If we can just bet against Nathan Peterman again this year, it's just going to be just such a blessing, and just an auto bet. And I don't get, why is he talking up Nathan Peterman when he knows he has a starting quarterback in Derek Carr, and it's win now time because they just made a big splash in free agency. But the Nathan Peterman show must go on, I guess.
So, all right, think about it, whatever. Derek Carr gets hurt. They get late in the season. They decide to bench him. Multitude of things happen. I think they play at Kansas City like week 16 or 17. Nathan Peterman at Kansas City with all their players. Can the line be made high enough to where you wouldn't bet it? Obviously the answer is yes. So let me rephrase that question. At what point would you consider betting the Raiders? At what number?
With Nathan Peterman starting, 28.
Yes.
28 points.
Wow. I don't necessarily disagree with you. What do you think they would hang? 17? 20?
They would probably hang 17 points. They would lay 17, and I would still lay that number against them, even with the Chiefs' atrocious defense, because Matthew, maybe the Honey Badger, just takes 2 pick sixes to the house.
That could be, yeah. Tyrant. And look at Scott, Mike. He's dropping college
I know.
references here.
The Honey Badger don't care.
You're stepping your game up, Scott. I'm impressed.
I'm trying. I'll watch some college football this year. One of these days I'll make it to one of those games. But my local state of Connecticut was really impacted by UConn leaving for the Big East. So now they're going to be an orphan football program without a conference, and we're all just shook here in Connecticut that we're not going to get some good Huskies football.
They are so bad.
I think my favorite story about UConn football is Scott Frost's first year. UConn made up this rivalry in a trophy. I think it was called the something. It was a bell, and they played for it for like 2 years, and UCF won and then left it. They were like, we don't even acknowledge that this is a rivalry and that this is real. So you can keep your trophy. You can use it to start a fire in the winter because this is stupid.
Yes, it's sadly a true story.
Yeah.
Sadly true. But you know what? UConn made it to the Fiesta Bowl one year.
It's true.
Against Oklahoma. Right. They made it a real game.
And Kansas
got
won
absolutely
Orange Bowl.
blitzed.
So miracles do happen in college football. And speaking of college football, we'll go to, I guess we can start the debate. This year, will there be a conversation of can a college team beat an XYZ NFL team because it's no longer Cleveland, and could that team be in one of the South divisions?
You know what? I don't think it's going to come in one of the South divisions this year, but the team that's generating, we'll start in the NFC South, the team that's generating the most hype of fantasy buzz, offensive power buzz, and Bruce Arians coming back buzz is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mm-hmm. And I don't see how this team is going to be good in any which way. Their over-under number has already moved up this year from 6 to 6.5. And I just don't see how they're going to be winning games. They have 3 offensive weapons. 2 are totally unproven, haven't had a good season, a sustained good season. So O.J. Howard and Chris Godwin, they're both just generating such fantasy buzz. Bruce Arians is generating a ton of buzz of coming back to football. And your franchise still hangs on Jameis Winston that has never been able to lead an NFL team to any sort of wins. I've been duped by this team in the past. So we're starting at the bottom of the NFC. I'm projecting Tampa Bay Bucks at 4 wins under their 6.5 number. I feel pretty confident taking this bet. And then continuing to move on up in this division, the Panthers, their over-under numbers at 7.5. They are relying on Cam Newton, who's got some shoulder issues. Mm-hmm. They still don't have much of a defense. They're relying on 2 young receivers, and they have no one backing up Christian McCaffrey. So if he goes down, forget about it. They have no shot this season if he goes down.
McCaffrey put some weight on, though, looking like he came right out of NFL Blitz 99.
looking swole.
He is looking swole.
He's a monster, and love the guy, but who are they throwing passes to there other than DJ Moore?
No one.
Correction. Third leg Greg is still in the NFL. And Cam will probably target him 600 times this year. All right, so I want to take a step back. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Bucs because I will not be betting it. If you had a gun to my head, I would err towards Scott's side. Bruce Arians, brand new. Byron Leftwich, brand new, unproven from last year in Arizona. Although I don't really think that was a fair shake. That was a terrible coaching staff. Mm-hmm. I'll be quite intrigued to see what he does. And then actually Todd Bowles is going to be heading up the defense. So I agree with Scott. A lot of uncertainty. I definitely do not trust Jameis Winston to do anything in the NFL. He really hasn't. He's got Mike Evans. I think O.J. Howard can become something. But yeah, not sold on Tampa, and I would expect them, unfortunately, once again, to be in the cellar of the South. I think that with Norv Turner, Cam Newton can be interesting. Been a lot of turnover at that position for him, unfortunately. But this is a pretty tough division. So Cam was not right towards the end of last year. It became evident when they said he had shoulder injury. but there was no planting, no driving of the ball. And yeah, this offense is really predicated on him and his ability to pick up yards on the ground. So if he's not throwing and they can load the box against him, I really don't see them moving the ball a whole lot. Plus you have how Ron Rivera has survived for 7 years in the NFL is absolutely absurd to me as a head coach.
I agree.
Incompetent.
You know what? He made it to that Super Bowl, so
I'm gonna be.
Gene Chizik made it to the national championship with Cam Newton, and he's not around.
It's true. I'm interested to see, because they did take hometown hero Will Greer in the draft. What the timetable is going to be on him if the natives start growing restless this season, wanting to see Will Greer, especially how he does in preseason, and they're saying that Cam's probably going to be on a pitch count here early in the season. So a lot of question marks there. And for me, I'm with both of you guys. When you look at Tampa, I mean, how many times can this guy, you give him a second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth chance? He's got talent, but there's just something, it's just not in the DNA.
Screws loose.
Yeah, exactly. To be an elite NFL quarterback.
Yep. I agree. Yeah. Scott, you want to roll on with the Falcons?
Yeah, so Falcons. So my issue with the Falcons, I want to like the Falcons. They got smashed by the injury bug last year. But their new offensive coordinator, so they fire Sark, and they bring in Dirk Cutter. What do you think Dirk Cutter, as offensive coordinator's record was the last time he was OC of the Falcons? 3-13.
I would say probably not good.
3-13. So I don't know how you could be as incompetent as he was as a head coach of the Bucs and just instantly roll into an offense as powerful as the Falcons. Having said all that, they play a pretty favorable schedule. They have their tough games at home. They have the Rams at home. They have the Seattle Seahawks at home. They have the Eagles at home. They play Arizona away. They play the Niners away. They got the Bucs twice, obviously, in division, and Carolina twice, who are just both dumpster fires, in my opinion. So I kind of like the Falcons. I like them at plus 320 to win the South. I think that they're an 8-8, 9-7 team, and you may be surprised I have them winning the South because I'm just as bearish on the Saints as I am the rest of the division. I think that they haven't gotten over, last year's playoff debacle or the call that wasn't heard around the world.
Oh, it wasn't.
And I think they're taking a step back. Drew Brees looked very mortal at the end of the season last year, and maybe just age is getting to him a little bit more than it's getting to my man Tom Brady. So
I was wondering how he was going to sneak his way into this show.
Fresh deal.
So I'm not going to I wouldn't hammer away at the Saints under. Their numbers at 10.5. I'm bearish on them. I think in this division, the best bets are Falcons plus 320 to win the South and the Bucs under. That's what I'd be playing.
Yeah, so I will also be on Atlanta to win the division at plus 320. I will also be betting them over. A couple reasons why. I think Steve Sarkisian is a complete incompetent moron, and I'm actually quite happy to see him back at Alabama because maybe that means their offense will stink. I also like the fact that Dan Quinn is going to be calling the defense, which he has not done in his stint in Atlanta, but obviously was very successful in Seattle as a defensive coordinator, candidly what got him the job here. And then Scott alluded to it. I think they got nipped really, really, really bad by the injury bug last year, and there's got to be some level of reversion to the mean. Julio Jones, in my opinion, is, if not the best, one of the three best wide receivers out there. Matt Ryan is entering, I think, his 10th or 11th year, which is kind of crazy to say. It makes me feel really old, but extremely competent, and I think the defense can do just enough. Anytime you get the dome home field, I think that creates a little bit more juice when the team is good. So, like I said, I'll be playing the over 8.5, and I'll also be playing the plus 320 on the Falcons. Not as bearish as Scott on the Saints. I do think 10.5 is a ridiculous win total, and there's only one side that I would be betting on that. But that would be a pass for me. Drew Brees is getting up there. They seem to rinse and repeat with the wide receiver core that they have. Just new guys keep popping up all the time. Sean Payton is a fantastic, fantastic offensive mind. But they're very Jekyll and Hyde. It's odd to me how great they look like a world beater one week and then a complete stinker the next week. So it's hard for me to read.
Yeah, I think you guys are all spot on there. I don't have much to say about the Dirty Birds or the Saints. So we'll see what happens. This is a division that has always had a different. How many years in a row was it? No one repeated as a champion. Weren't the Saints the first ones to do it here?
I think it was 6 years in a row.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
A lot of turnover. Yeah. A couple worst to first back-to-back years.
A lot of Super Bowl losses in this division, too.
That's right, yeah.
This is true.
It's true.
Yeah. So,
Scott, you want to talk about AFC South?
AFC South, absolutely. This is another division that seems like they just love losing, or they do just love losing.
Love losing.
The wild card
Full
round.
stop. Yeah.
Love just getting spanked in the wild card round. What is it? The Texans lost in the wild card like 5 years in a row, 6 years in a row.
It seems like, and they're always in that brutal ESPN like first game slot and just get their teeth kicked in every year.
It was Seattle this year, right? No,
Seattle lost to Dallas.
That's right. And then who did the Texans play? I can't remember.
Texas played the Colts.
That's right. And the Colts was over.
We were out in Vegas, man.
I was going to say, Mike was a little furry because we were in Vegas.
And then we were out. Yep. So starting at the bottom, I think Titans take a step back this year, and it pains me to say it because I'm a huge Vrabel guy, and I rode them religiously last year. But their number's 8.5. I see them going 7 and 9. I don't really like betting that under, but they got a couple tough stretches throughout the season. My most bearish bet in this division is the Houston Texans. I am hammering the 8.5 under. They were extremely lucky last year for the slew of quarterbacks they played against. They do not have much of a secondary. They did not address the needs on the offensive line in the offseason. They got pwned by the Eagles, who traded up to get Dillard right in front of them. So this is ultimate bearish bet on the Texans. I like them under 8.5. I was on FanDuel and DraftKings today to see what the odds were for first coach fired, but they didn't have it posted. Last time I saw it, I thought I saw Bill O'Brien at plus 1,100 somewhere. Any bet that you can bet Bill O'Brien first head coach fired, I think that's coming this year. They don't have a GM, and so whenever they do hire a real GM, I think he comes in and cleans house. And if they waste another year of Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins, it's going to be a problem. They don't have a run game. They just cut Donta Foreman today. I think this team's going to be a mess, and they may seem like a sexy pick in fantasy and season-long futures, but I am very bearish on the Texans, and the juice is getting up there on the under on 8.5. So, get it early.
I like
Titans,
that pick.
Titans. I agree with you. Marcus Mariota, we're getting to the point here, like he's going to have to show something, or he's not going to get another contract. The defense there is really good, but this whole power run game is just so antiquated for today's NFL. I just don't know how they continue to make that work. I agree with you. I'm a pretty big fan of Vrabel, but the reality is if you don't win in this league, unfortunately, you're not going to be around long. 8.5 on a bet there for me, just because, again, the schedule is not too tough. They get a lot of pretty good games, pretty bad teams at home. So not terribly interested in the number one way or the other. Texans, I would love to bet an under 9. And Scott had said that the juice is kind of moving. You said it's moving up, Scott, or down?
It's moving up. Juice is moving up. It was like minus 160 to bet 8.5 under, which is just disgusting.
I mean, I was going to say not interested in it there just based on the price. I'd love to bet it under 9 just because I think there's a lot of outcomes there that are beneficial. I mean, the defense is good. The quarterback is good. They have some guys on the edge that are quality. It's perplexing, really, as to why they're not better than what they are, and certainly have not performed very well since Bill O'Brien has been head coach. Now, it was always he doesn't have a quarterback. Well, you have Deshaun Watson now. He's been there for 2 years. Like, time to start making some moves. This is really a seminal year, in my opinion, for Bill O'Brien's ability to retain his job. I agree with you, Scott. I think if you could find that. Question is, if they don't have a GM, how quick is that cord going to get pulled? I can think of another guy in this division that they start out pretty cold, not likely to be in his chair much longer.
I think I know where you're going with this one, and unfortunately, this is my my bullish bet in the division. I think he'll be in that chair. I'm just alluding to the value. I hear you. Doug Marrone, he's definitely on the hot seat. They got a new OC in there, John DeFilippo, who was the OC on the Eagles when Nick Foles won the Super Bowl. So I'm hopping on the Nick Foles train. I believe in Nick Foles, my man. They are projected at their over-unders at 8. I have them at going 10-6, 11-5, somewhere in that range. I think it's very likely, very possible. I don't want to say like, but very possible for them to win the division. They have a ton of weapons on the offensive side. They have a ton of weapons. They need Marquise Lee to come back healthy, D.D. Westbrook. They need Leonard Fournette to stay healthy. But their defense is absolutely stacked. Absolutely stacked. You're not going to be able to throw on them. It's tough to go down there and play in Jacksonville. You saw Andrew Luck last year when he was rolling along, got a nothing burger put up on him in Jacksonville. I hate the Saxonville. I hate the Duval. All that's nonsense. But this team, this team's good. This team's defense is stacked. And they also got hit with the injury bug a little bit last year. So I like over 8 wins for the Jags. I like plus 430 for the Jags to win the South. I think that's an intriguing bet. But there was another bet for Jags to make the playoffs. And I thought that had really good odds on FanDuel. It's escaping me right now. I should have made notes. But I do like Jags this year. And I believe in Nick Foles. I think it was a great signing for them.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback right on top of what Scott said. Obviously, 2016, this team was great, kind of took the world by storm with that really, really good defense. And then last year had a little bit of back and forth with the quarterback, did not get the same amount of production that they did in 2016 from Mr. Bortolez, and he's now on the other coast in L.A. I like this team a lot. I think Nick Foles is a perfect fit on their offense. They do have a couple of weapons that he can deliver the ball to, in addition to Leonard Fournette, as we mentioned. Corners are, all world. I think I just saw Ngakoue is back as of this morning or as of today. So, putting some of that salary cap stuff into the rearview mirror.
It's calorie count these days.
Yeah, I was going to say, did I have chocolate cake for dinner? Like this team a lot. Scott alluded to it, like John DeFilippo. Not a huge fan of Doug Marrone, but I think all the ingredients are in place in Jacksonville to have a very successful season.
Yeah, and then wrapping up with the Colts, they're just going to continue to roll along. They got smoked in the playoffs, and I was beating the horn of the Colts against the Chiefs last year, but I like what they did in the offseason, bringing in Devin Funchess. They still have Marlon Mack, Nyheim Hines at the running back position, T.Y. Hilton, new guy, Paris Campbell, Chester Rogers, Ebron, Jack Doyle back healthy. Offense is absolutely stacked. Defense played well last year. Offensive line kept Andrew Luck upright. Andrew Luck, total stud. This team probably making the playoffs. I think they're going to be battling with the Jags for the playoffs at the end of the year. The Colts do have a pretty tough stretch to close it out. So that's just something, if they do get down early in the season, that they may need to go on one of those historic runs like they did last year. But they close at Saints, Panthers at home, and then at Jags. So maybe that Sunday nighter,
Week 17,
December 29th, could be that 8-20 for the playoffs next year. That could be
just like
that
it
could
was
be fun.
last year.
Just like it was last year. Let's not talk about it.
Too soon.
I think the Jags will be the more intriguing team out of all these guys to watch. Like you were saying, a lot of new pieces. I'm still a little bitter towards DeFilippo after the whole Minnesota shenanigans last year. I just don't think it was a good fit.
That's Zimmer's fault, by the way.
Who cares? But for the Jags
Run the ball.
well, yeah, you got to establish the run. And Kirk Cousins can't move. He's got the mobility of a 58-year-old. But anywho, you should see him trying to throw these balls 50 yards down the field in OTAs. It's awful. But the Jags played their Super Bowl in Week 2 last year with the win 31-20 over the Patriots. And after that, the team just was non-existent. Jalen Ramsey apparently not very interested in re-signing with the team, stating that he wants to play with his boy over in LA with the Chargers.
Ooh, I didn't hear that. Really? You said that?
Not with Blake. No, with the other FSU corner I'm blanking on right now.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
It's not coming to me.
you know what? He's a man motivated this year because he needs to go get paid, so he's got to go play. So
what
I
do you
think
think
he's the
about-
guys
Not
to bet
resigning,
on.
that means he's trying to get paid. Exactly.
what'd you
Small
think
end.
about? It's Derwin James.
Oh,
This is buddy.
Derwin James. Yeah.
But what'd you think about Jalen's appearance to camp?
So I saw the video pop up on my Twitter feed, and I kept scrolling. So
Basically, he rolls up and I was thinking,
Brink's truck, right?
yeah, with stacks of money in there. So I think
money?
that team has the potential to be a very, very good football team, or they could start out slow and everything could just blow up. Because I think Jalen's got the capability of just causing a huge rift in that locker room and saying this QB sucks, he's trash, they're trash, everyone's trash, and then it all goes downhill from there.
This defense was so good they got Blake Bortles to an AFC Championship game up 10 in the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. That's how good this defense is. That's the one silver lining and why I'm really, really balling this team this year. But having said that, to your point, if they start going bad, they'll go off the rails, and they probably don't have the leadership there to keep them, to get them back on the rails.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not likely that the Jags finish 8-8.
Yeah, no.
Maybe
No Mike
like
and Mike prediction there. R.I.P. to Mike and Mike. But every team goes 8-8 on the prediction show.
like not going to happen. I would even say a straddle. Like, what are they? +4 something to win the division, Scott? +420.
Plus 430, yeah.
Yeah, I would even think if you're really looking for something interesting, I would do that with a season win total under bet. Because I think if they go up top, they're going all the way up top. I'm not as bullish on the Colts as Scott is. I certainly think that they're good, and Andrew Luck is unquestionably fantastic, but this defense is just not good. So he's just going to have to continue to score and score and score and score. And I'm not saying that he can't or that they're not going to win games as a consequence of him just willing them to victory and scoring enough points to win. I'm a huge fan of Frank Reich. I'm a huge fan of the coaching staff here. I just don't think they got it on the defense. There's not enough money. They can't pay people. They're spending a bunch of money on offense, which is fine. You have to. Jack Doyle's back. That's huge, based on the relationship that he has with Andrew Luck. I just think it's going to be a lot of up and down games, a lot of ping pong boat races. What is this? Week 5 at Kansas City. I will definitely be tuned into that. That'll probably get flow. That's not flex. Maybe that's a Sunday night game.
It is a Sunday nighter. It is.
That'll be fun
That'll be
to
a good
watch.
one.
Is there any concern around Andrew Luck for you, Scott, with
The calf.
the calf and everything? Is there red flags flying?
Last summer, all my red flags were up because of his shoulder issue, and he wasn't able to throw the ball. And he's just a monster. So I'm not
darts all year.
I'm not doubting him. I'm off doubting Andrew Luck, except when he plays the Patriots, because he definitely can't beat them. But
who can beat them?
The thing that, just looking back over the last 10 years, the average turnover of playoff teams in both divisions or both conferences is 3. So you got to find
turnover
3 teams in each conference that are not making the playoffs and made it last year. And, I guess the Colts are right up there in your mind, Jared, for being one of the teams that's out looking in. But I don't know. I'm a fan of what they've been doing and what they've been building over there. I think they got a lot of good pieces on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, arrows definitely pointed up overall as an organization. I just look at it and say, okay, I'm going to bet an over 9.5 with juice to the over, and they got to win 10 games. And I start looking at the schedule, and I'm like, ooh, at Pittsburgh, at Kansas City.
Yeah.
At New Orleans. I mean,
at Chargers too.
Yeah, I mean, there's some rough games in there. There's not a lot of room for slippage. So again, am I surprised if they win 12 games and win the division? No. I just look at it purely from a probabilistic point of view of it's not a number I want to attack.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's why it'd be a no bet, but I'd lean over. Jags over, Texans under, uber short Texans.
So uber short Texans.
Long Jags.
Yep.
Definitely long Jags this podcast.
So, Scott, just to recap, you got Falcons and Jags.
Falcons and Jags to win those divisions this year. They're both plus number on those. And then if you can find the first coach fired, Bill O'Brien, that's where I'm plunking down my Bills.
Oh, yeah. And then what about win total, Scott? Just from those divisions, let's recap all the picks, and then I'll do mine.
So I have Bucks under 6.5, around 5 wins, 4 wins. Falcons over 8.5, 9 wins. Panthers under 7.5, and Saints under 10.5. Panthers 6 wins, Saints 9 wins. And then
I just have, from that division, I just have Falcons to win the division plus 320, and then I also have over 8.5 wins.
And then the AFC South, I like the Jags over the 8 number, and then Texans under 8.5. I have Colts and Titans are no bets. I like the Titans on the under. I like Colts on the over, but I'm not touching them. And then Jags to win the division plus 430.
Yep, I also have Jags to win the division plus 430, and then I have Jags over 8 as well. I would love to find like a Jags make the playoffs.
I just checked DraftKings is plus 220. I thought it was juicier.
That would be intriguing to me as well. Wow, you're getting a lot of value there then on that division win.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Almost double.
Yeah, and that's what I really liked about it.
Yeah.
Because they've shown that they're going to give the Colts issues, especially at home, and that defense has played really well against them, and they get up for big-time quarterbacks, or they have in the past. So I think it's a juicy, interesting bet, and they're a tough team to project just because they have turnover, new OC, new quarterback. So maybe Nick Foles gets it going for him.
So there are the picks. Now we got one last little thing here, and we'll try and keep it short because we're running up on our promised cap time. Fellas, most interesting, just to kind of go talking football, so we got the picks out of the way, most interesting holdout so far for camp?
I think Zeke, because the whole offense is built around Zeke and they don't have any sort of backup. I don't think Melvin Gordon's as interesting just because they have Eckler, they have Justin Jackson, they have a stacked offense, and the Cowboys are limited on weapons already. So I'm curious to see how long Zeke is getting held out.
So Scott's looking at it from a kind of a football perspective. I would say I would look at it almost from like an interpersonal perspective and say Melvin Gordon, because I really don't know what he thinks he's doing. Mm-hmm. Like, isn't there still 2 or 3 years left on his deal? So, like, it's this dynamic of he has to do this because this is the only way he's going to get paid. as a running back. But as Scott mentioned, there is like ample and qualified and like running backs that have the aptitude to handle the job. So it's like, how do you balance this thing where, like Scott said, Zeke's holding out because he knows he's got Jerry by the Kokomos, and this is one of the few opportunities he's going to have to get paid because the whole offense, as Scott said, is focused and predicated on running the ball with him, Dak included. But this Melvin Gordon thing is like, dude, that you're still in your contract for 2 years. Like, they're going to sit your ass on the bench, not pay you anything. And then who's going to sign you in 2 years? It's definitely not going to be for if you'd play for the Chargers for another year, and then it's just, I don't know. I think he's getting bad advice, unfortunately.
It's got analytics Twitter abuzz, analytics NFL Twitter abuzz about the lack of value in running backs. And they're all saying just the Chargers got to let Melvin Gordon walk. Now, the interesting thing is there's a couple teams that need running backs right now, and you just get into the season and a couple injuries go down, then you get a lot of value for trading for Melvin Gordon because you need a running back to make a little bit of a playoff push. Because while analytics Twitter will have you believe that anyone can just fill the role, some of these guys have gained and had massive years because they are absolute studs. So you can't just plug and play anymore.
Isn't he going to want the contract extension? So, like, say he gets traded to make up a team. So he gets traded to Chicago. Houston, fine. Houston. He's not just going to be like, oh, yeah, Houston, you're cool. I'll play for you now. He's still going to hold out.
Yeah.
He's going to want an extension. So now as those teams that are going to be trading for him, the implication will be that you would trade for him and then sign him to this huge deal. And it's just like, I don't know. I'm more on the, like, I agree with the analytics people that it's just like, it's the way that the cap is built today. You're just are not well served to pay these running backs these huge amounts of money.
It's true. And then other big news, obviously not a holdout, but A.J. Green going down like first day of practice. I'm sure Zach Taylor was like, you got to be stinking kidding me. Taking over this job. I got the red rifle, and my best player on the entire football field goes down. So we'll see what happens with the Bengals. May or may not be having a special guest on the podcast.
Oh,
so little hint there. But fellas, this was a great first podcast back. Scott, loved having you on here. Super, super fun. So we got the rest of the divisions coming. We're going to get all these out before foosball starts. And then we're just going to hit the ground running, and we'll get right back to where we were last year. And
yes, sir.
It's going to be a good time. So we'll tweet out that information about the contest. Scott, I'll let you run through it one more time, though, and then I'll let you say your final goodbyes as well.
Awesome. Yeah, so download draft.com, deposit, send a picture to us at Pigskin Junkies. Make sure you use the promo code Pigskin Junkies when signing up. And then the first 10 people to do that and tweet at us will enter into a best ball contest against Jared and myself. And that first prize, $100, 0 entry. Just tweet at us a picture of your...
Go free.
Yeah, just tweet at us that you downloaded the app, used our promo code to get started. And then we'll be talking about it and recapping the best ball contest throughout the season.
Yep, Scott and I will be out there August 24th. Registering for all the contests. I suppose we can cover that before we go out there on a different podcast. But then you guys will be out there registering for the contest. Make sure you hit us up. Let us know. We'll be out there.
Yeah, get the word out. So if you guys haven't booked your flights yet, and we'll be in Vegas. Yeah, 23rd, 24th, Super Contest weekend.
It's true. So they're going to be out in Vegas. I'm sure you guys will be doing all your fun live tweeting. Jared and Scott have been getting after it on the Twitter sphere. A friendly reminder, as we always say at the end of the podcast, please rate and review. Helps us out and lets us know kind of what's going on. The last comment we got is from January 20th. So looking for a little love recently.
Pick it up, guys.
But 39 ratings so far for all of you that have done that is very much appreciated. For myself, Jared and Scott, we want to say thank you. We're looking forward to this journey again this year. Had so much fun last year. We are out of here, Junkies. Take care.
See ya.